All right, really, really happy to have with me today Mark O'Brien. Mark is the writer, director, and star of the movie The Righteous. Mark, I was lucky enough to see this on Sunday night, and I was there for your world premiere. This is a really, really good movie, first of all.
Oh, thanks, man. And thanks for being there. That's so cool. You were there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in your row. I was on the side, and I hadn't.
You sent me to see if I was like falling asleep.
I did look over because the last time I was in that theater was for the premiere of Sausage Party, which is a completely different movie.
Yeah, it's a very different movie. Well, inspired by, yeah, you see what
yeah. And I was in the same row as the creator of Sausage Party, and all I heard was so hearing that laugh, but yeah, it is always fun to be in the theater, and that's what I love about Fantasia, because a lot of the times you're able to be in the theater with the creator, and a good portion of the time it is their world premiere, so it always does feel a little bit special being an audience member when you're there for that.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. But that's what I was saying. Anytime I've been there where I know the directors are, I always like to sneak a peek to just see how they're watching it, being like, yeah, or they're falling asleep or something. I just find it funny.
It's great because to me this is, and unfortunately the case is that most people are going to see this at home, but or on however they're going to see it. But seeing this in the theater, I think, was a real treat, because this to me is a movie that, if you can, you should try to see this on the biggest screen possible.
Yeah, I agree. Like, this is the first time I saw it on a big screen, and it just it was a different film. I was like, oh my God, this is the film. Because when I finished the film, I was like, that's the movie I wanted to make. But then when I saw it on the big screen, I was like, no, actually, that's the movie I wanted to make. It was like a whole new experience, because we took a lot of detail into the technical aspects of the film too, and also it's kind of a brooding film that sticks with you in your guts. And I think when you experience that with other people in a giant room where the sound is blasting, I think it has more of an impact.
And it was loud,
I asked, when we did the spot check, like the sound check, I asked the guy, I was like, go as close to distortion as humanly possible.
Yeah, well, my wife was like, that movie was loud.
Yeah.
But it's this is a genre of film that, whenever you're dealing with anything to do with religion, whenever you're dealing with the clergy, this is something that's been, I don't want to say raked over the coals, but it's been done so many times.
Yeah.
But to come away with a situation or an experience like this that I did on Sunday, feeling that I saw something fresh, that's an accomplishment.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I think sometimes as a filmmaker, a great way in is taking something we're slightly familiar with, because the audience can settle in, they can trust it a little bit more. Like, if you come in, like 2001: Space Odyssey, when that was made and everyone first saw it, they're like, what the hell is this crap? Like,
right.
Because it was too much. It's for them. I mean, it's a brilliant movie and everyone knows that after the fact, but when it was first screened, that was the reaction. So I think it's, and like, I love the confidence behind something like that. But I think a nice way to settle an audience in is something that they're kind of familiar with. And I'm not Stanley Kubrick. So therefore, I knew that was a good way to kind of grasp people a little. And also, I think playing with preconceptions, like, the character I play in the movie, Aaron, it's like, he's a mysterious stranger who shows up at a house. I know what people are going to think when they see that. They're going to be like, oh, he's going to kill them all. Like, that's just where your mind goes.
Right.
And I love playing with preconceptions and stuff like that with an audience. And I think that goes from watching a billion movies, which I literally do. So I think that's important as a filmmaker. Instead of just being like, this is a story I want to tell and this is what it's about, it's like, but where are the audience coming from? Because they're the ones watching it. And if you can play with something, it's kind of funny. It's almost like when someone reads someone's script and then the notes are, it's like, someone has notes. I mean, this happened to me a million times. And they're like, you didn't get that? It's like, well, clearly you didn't illustrate it very well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of on you. So that's why I kind of liked taking that trope, but then spinning it in a totally different direction that I hadn't really seen before either.
Yeah. And that's exactly what you do. I mean, it was comfortable when I walked in, because I was like, oh, okay, I love this type of film, but it's so challenging to be able to make somebody not only impress people when they see it, but to have somebody say, oh, that was different though. And The Righteous really is different.
Yeah. And part of that comes from, for me, it comes from, I think it's I forget what I was saying. Damn it. I
It's
forget.
okay. It's okay. No, we're talking about how there's there, you know, you go into this and there, you manage to come away at least I managed to come away from this feeling that I had seen something
Well,
that,
that's what I was going to say. I
yeah,
remember.
go ahead.
So it has to do with genre.
Yeah.
It's so funny because when you write a film or you present a film, or you're trying to get a movie made, whatever you're trying to do, people are like, "What's the genre? What's it about?
Right.
And I'm like, I kind of want to twist the genre. So
Mhm.
at one minute you think it's an emotional drama, and the next minute it's a mystery, and the next minute it's a thriller, and the next minute it's a horror film. So when you don't know where you're going and you're the audience member, you're more engrossed. I think because you're like, I don't know which way this is going to take me. I mean, a great example of that, which I revisited recently, was The Sixth Sense, which is
Yeah.
such a big popcorn movie. But watching it, I mean, I'd seen it probably 10 or 15 times, but I haven't watched it about 20 years, and I was like, this is an emotional drama, and then it turns into a mystery, and now it's a horror, and now it's back to emotional. It's a family drama, like, and I think like. And that it succeeded on such a big level, and I think it's because of that. I think you were constantly grasping and reaching for more from it.
Yeah.
And I think twisting the genre and not playing by the rules, I think does that.
And posing questions throughout the film that people want answers for.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I give you the answer, then the jig is
it's
up.
over. Then it's done.
And I think that's why ambiguity. And I also was interested in making a film that, when you watch it a second, third, fourth, fifth time, you're gonna think different things than you did the first time.
Yeah.
Because I'm a rewatcher of films. I mean, every movie I've seen, I see every movie at least twice. Literally, even movies I don't like. So I think art and film should exist beyond an initial viewing. When you have a beautiful painting, you put it up on the wall because you want to see it again. You don't throw it in the garbage. I saw it, I'll just toss it in the fireplace.
Right.
Or if you love, you listen to it over and over. And I think film should have that as well. And I think there's a weird notion that, like, people even say to me, like, you rewatch films all the time? I was like, of course I do. Like, I'm taking something different from it than I did the previous time. And that's kind of what I was going for as well, so that it could continue to exist to some degree.
Yeah, and I think you achieved that, because when the film was done, I was like, I'm definitely going to buy this movie when it comes out, and I'm going to watch it again, and then I'm going to watch it again, and I'm going to hope that there's special features on here that are going to enlighten me on some questions I might have, because not everybody has the chance to talk to the creators. Henry's performance in this film is just, he is. And you know, that to me is what separates a great film from a mediocre film. When you can manage to cast incredible actors, and he was so good in this movie. I mean, you're great too, don't get me wrong. But Henry, there's just he's just got a certain gravitas that it's there. You know, he commands it.
It's there, and I kind of he and I met during Ready or Not, and we got along immediately. I was such a fan of his, especially he's done so much stuff. I mean, Mission Impossible and Sharp Objects, all these things. But it was Boys St. Vincent. I mean, that's one of the seminal performances of Canadian history, cinema history. And I liked the idea as well that in that film he played a priest who did something wrong, and now it's 25 years later or 30 years later, and he's playing a priest who's done something wrong in his past. It's a different thing, but still. I kind of like that meta aspect of it. I liked playing with that idea, but beyond that, I mean, Henry is the greatest guy you could ever meet, and he's so game, and he's so there for it, and he also, like, he's willing to lose in the movie. Like, he's willing to be vulnerable. He's willing to be uncertain. He doesn't need to be the hero, and he's just such a team player, and he did so much in this. And it's a tricky role because it's like, what's happening, what's not happening. We're playing with reality, and to keep that restrained and human, I was just in awe of. I mean, it's a really tough role, and he's flawless in the film. And like you said, like, that's what makes a film good. Like, from being an actor myself, like, there are times in your career when you're like, oh, I'm only a small part in this or whatever. But you can't lessen it, because when you make a movie, every line matters. I'm like, I can't have a false beat. It's amazing, the phenomenon of stepping out of a movie once there's a false moment. And Henry doesn't have it within him to have a false moment.
No. And you can see that. I mean, you can tell that he took this really, really seriously, and he gave it his all. And I think everybody in the film does.
Yeah. I mean, Mimi Kuzik as well. I wrote it with Mimi in mind, and she even had we had this kind of same idea from a different place. I wanted her hair to kind of be sort of Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I just thought it would be appealing, and for the role. And she kind of had the same idea, and she provides so much too. There's so much work done on her face as an actor. Like, it's just there. I don't know how you achieve that. She's obviously just living it. And same with Kate Corbett. Kate, who plays Doris in the film, I've known Kate a long time, and I wrote it with her in mind too. I was like, I don't think anyone else can play this part. So, and Nigel Bennett as well, who plays Father Graham, the other priest.
Yeah.
Everyone, Mako Nguyen. I was really, really impressed with the acting because they do the job for you, a lot of it.
And there's, you know, and this is a really hard movie to talk to you about without giving things away, because I want to dive in and ask you a bunch of questions, but I don't want to give away punches in the film. But this is definitely a slow burn.
Yeah.
With a great payoff.
Yeah. And that's why, yeah, exactly. I knew it was going to be big where we're going. So it's you gotta earn it. I think you really got to earn it. And it's like what I was saying before. It's like breadcrumbs to the audience. I love the films of Michael Haneke and Paul Verhoeven and Bergman and Tarkovsky and Dreyer and all these people and Bong Joon-ho. Like, I love breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Like, man, what is going on? Or Lynch. Like, I rewatched Lost Highway for the millionth time the other day, and I was like, man, what the hell's going on? And I think that's more interesting than giving the reveal. It's like a magician telling you how he does the trick. It's ruined, and it's funny because people will not like this film. There will be people who don't like it because they probably will think it was too slow or I wanted more or whatever. But that's great. I kind of like playing with the audience a little. That actually tickles me in a weird, perverse way too. That I'm like, good, you were a participant even if you didn't like it.
But the thing is, you know, for people that like their stuff wrapped up in a neat bow, and with a gratifying ending, you give them that too. I mean, it's not like, you know, you reveal in the film, you reveal what's going to happen if certain things play out the way they do, and we get a payoff in that sense.
Yeah, there are warnings. There are warnings throughout the film, and there's always, the threat is real and the threat is identified.
Yeah,
and the threat also I thought was interesting, that the main threat of the film is actually exactly at the midway point as opposed to, like, you know, 5 minutes in. And I think I love that stuff too, and it's funny because this would be classified, probably just because it's black and white almost more than anything, as an art house film or something like that. But really, I mean, when we were editing, myself and the editor, it's an hour and 37 minutes, and when we went through, like, I'm a big fan of certain aspects of screenwriting books. I think they do have helpful points, and if you look at anything from John Truby to Robert McKee to on and on to oh my God, what's the Joseph? Oh my God, I'm forgetting it. He's the legend. Anyway, whatever. There are certain beats when we were going through editing that I wanted to hit. It's like, okay, like this moment here. Okay, now it's at this point where it's like we introduced something else. Now it's like the catalyst. Now it's that. Now they know the stakes. Now it's this at the end. Like, it actually is honestly paced kind of like a mainstream film. It just just a different angle.
Yeah, to me, and it's funny because when you think of Fantasia, I mean, you know, growing up in Montreal, Fantasia is like part of my diet. You know, I've been coming to this festival for as far as I can remember, but this plays to me like a film that you would see on a worldwide stage. It's genre, but it's not genre to the point where, you know, a bunch of people in turtlenecks are going to watch this. I think anybody can go in and enjoy this movie if they're a fan of the horror genre or if they're a fan of the suspense genre.
I think so too, or even just drama. I mean, the emotion in the film is very real, and I've always been really interested in genre films that have emotion. Like I mentioned The Sixth Sense, and it's such a silly movie to mention in a way because it's so popular and so well known, but the emotion is real. And I think, like, when I talk about Dreyer and you watch Vampire, you're like, God, that's pretty emotional. Like, actually, what that, or even Nosferatu, like the original, like F.W. Murnau. It's like, it's emotional. It's kind of like sad, like, or even Herzog's version. Like, I think that in genre you can surprise people with emotion, and that way you're kind of having your cake and eating it too.
Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I'm really excited for people to see this and continued success, man. This is a really, really fun film, and I think it's going to endure.
Thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming to the live stream, man. That was so cool.
Absolute pleasure. You too, man.